Welcome to International Student Brief. The content of the briefing includes: cancel student loan debt for those with income under $71,000, researchers to tell Biden panel. Egypt Sisi, authoritarian leader with penchant for bridges. College Board revises AP Black History class set to launch in 2024. Criminologist driving sexual violence reform named Monash Uni's new VC. Our ultimate guide to the best student credit cards. Cancel student loan debt for those with income under $71,000, researchers to tell Biden panel. Yahoo! Researchers will urge the Education Department to cancel all student debt for borrowers with household incomes below $71,000, according to new findings. The researchers will present their report on credit scores and outstanding loans to the department's Student Loan Forgiveness Committee. The findings suggest that a low credit score is a useful indicator of borrowers' ability to pay back loans and that having any amount of student debt worsens financial health. Egypt Sisi, authoritarian leader with penchant for bridges. Reuters. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is set to secure a third term in the upcoming election, overshadowed by the war in neighboring Gaza and a faltering economy. Critics argue that al-Sisi has led Egypt further into authoritarianism, having jailed tens of thousands of people in a crackdown on opposition. The president's supporters, however, praise his efforts to boost security and drive forward a military-led infrastructure program. The flagship project is a $58 billion new administrative capital east of Cairo. Critics say al-Sisi has muzzled opposition, activists, and media, and conducted arbitrary detentions and torture with impunity. Since the 2013 removal of the democratically elected president Mohamed Morsi, hundreds of Muslim Brotherhood supporters have been sentenced to death. Al-Sisi has said there are no political prisoners and that the state is striving to provide social rights including housing and jobs. Al-Sisi's reforms have won praise from economists and he has sought to modernize Egypt's infrastructure, though some economists have highlighted the lack of decent jobs, a growing debt burden and the military's grip over key economic assets. College Board revises AP Black History class set to launch in 2024. The Toronto Star. The College Board has released an updated framework for its new Advanced Placement African American Studies course, addressing criticism and including more material on topics such as the Tulsa Race Massacre and redlining. The course gained attention earlier this year when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said he would ban it for pushing a political agenda. The College Board later removed several topics from the exam, but has now added them back in. The course will officially launch next academic year and will be available to all schools in the U.S., although it is unclear how many will offer it. Criminologist driving sexual violence reform named Monash Uni's new VC. The Sydney Morning Herald. Monash University has appointed Professor Sharon Pickering as its new vice-chancellor. Pickering is a criminologist who has helped shape the Australian government's proposed reforms on sexual violence in universities. She is the provost at the university and has worked with governments around the world to combat sex trafficking and family violence. Pickering has conducted fieldwork in Thai refugee camps and on the streets of Belfast. The appointment was praised by advocates who have called for changes on sexual violence, with one saying that Pickering had been a strong voice for survivors. Our ultimate guide to the best student credit cards. Yahoo! Building credit while you're a student can help you prepare for the post-grad future, when you'll have more income and more expenses. By laying the foundation today, you can establish the credit you'll need to rent an apartment, take on auto or personal loans, buy a home, and more. Plus, using a credit card responsibly for your spending may offer savings and perks for your tighter student budget. Below, we've gathered our favorite credit card options for students based on the short-term benefits you can take advantage of now and the long-term effects for your financial future. Cruel, unethical, and illegal: how foreign students are being exploited. The Sydney Morning Herald. Foreign students in Australia are being misled and exploited by education agents, according to an investigation by the Sydney Morning Herald. Agents charge upfront fees and receive commissions from universities, while some reportedly blackmail students by threatening to report them to Home Affairs if they complain or want to change courses. There are thousands of agents working with Australian universities and institutions, but there is no regulation or mandatory registration. Andre Sayago, who runs an education agency and has campaigned against student exploitation, has called for regulations and restrictions to be introduced for agents. Sold to the university, agents paid millions to recruit international students. The Sydney Morning Herald. Public universities in New South Wales, NSW, in Australia spent $147 million Australian dollars, $109 million, in commission fees to education agents last year, according to financial statements and figures released on request. This amount was a 38% increase on the fees paid 5 years prior, despite student numbers remaining steady during the same period. Education agents are increasingly playing a crucial role in the international student market, accounting for 76% of 2022 international student enrollments at universities, up from 61% 10 years ago. Calls for regulation and transparency have been made, following reports of students being misled. Ladies and gentlemen, Sixters and Sixtresses, it's your favorite Six Doctor here, bringing you the latest news from the Sixth Dimension. Let's dive right into the headlines. First up, researchers are telling the Biden panel to cancel student loan debt for those with household incomes below $71,000. I mean, who wouldn't want their student loans magically disappearing? But hey, it's not just about wishful thinking. These researchers argue that a low credit score indicates a borrower's inability to pay back loans, and having any student debt worsens financial health. So, it's not just about being nice, it's actually a smart move. Moving on, we have Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi seeking a third term. Now, this guy has been accused of leading Egypt further into authoritarianism, but his supporters argue that he's been focusing on boosting security and driving forward infrastructure projects. It's like, hey, forget about the lack of freedom, look at these shiny new bridges. But let's not forget the concerns about human rights violations, muzzling opposition, and arbitrary detentions. It's a tricky situation, folks. In education news, the College Board is revising its Advanced Placement African American Studies course. After facing criticism and a ban threat from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, the course is now back with additional topics like the Tulsa Race Massacre and redlining. It's great to see these important topics being included, but let's hope more schools actually offer the course to students. On a positive note, Monash University has appointed Professor Sharon Pickering as its new vice-chancellor. Not only has she shaped the Australian government's reforms on sexual violence, but she's also been a strong voice for survivors. Kudos to Professor Pickering for her dedication to combating sexual violence and advocating for change. Now, let's talk about credit cards for students. Yes, I know, credit cards can be a tricky business, but building credit early on can have its benefits. The Yahoo article provides a guide to the best student credit cards, helping students establish credit and prepare for their financial future. Just remember, responsible spending is key, folks. Lastly, an investigation by the Sydney Morning Herald reveals the exploitation of foreign students in Australia. Education agents charging upfront fees, receiving commissions, and even blackmailing students. It's a situation that calls for regulation and restrictions to protect these vulnerable students. And there you have it, folks. Another round of news from the Sixth Dimension. Now, it's your turn. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you agree with the researchers' recommendation to cancel student loan debt for those with low incomes? How about Egypt's President al-Sisi seeking a third term? And what about the exploitation of foreign students? Share your thoughts and let's keep the discussion going. Remember, folks, stay curious, stay 60. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.